Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Boots and Backstraps. We are still here filming at the Minnesota Outdoor Deer and Turkey Classic, the Outdoor News Deer and Turkey Classic. And KG, we've had a lot of great conversations so far today.
We have. Once again, I am learning so much. My head's going to explode. It's.
We're going to get you out of the boat and into the woods.
Oh man, I love the boat.
I know you do.
I love the boat.
Although I do have to give you a hard time because this switch that you went from like a legit fishing boat to like the pontoon with all the musky rigs on it.
Oh,
I'm like, now you just have a beer in your hand all the time. And
my feet get kicked up a lot easier. Yes.
Seems like less work.
It is less work, but I mean, we'll see if more fish, come out of it. The first time we went out, we got one, so you were there.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Well, speaking of work, I don't know two people that work harder in the hunting industry than our next guest. So we have the honor and privilege of being joined by the stars of Driven on the Outdoor channel. Pat Nicole Reeves are here with us today. How are you guys?
Great. Thanks for having us. We're excited.
We're doing good. Hey, and there's nothing wrong with a pontoon and a cold beer in your hand.
I appreciate that, Pat.
We do lots of that in the summertime,
Yes.
too. We're hard workers,
But it's not all hard work,
And they got a bunch of kids too. Now you guys
We
have
do.
3
Five.
or 4? Five.
Yep, 5 total. So
That's what I'm saying.
And I finally figured out how that was all happening.
I did too recently.
and we put a quit to that. So
Oh boy.
Well, okay, we better cut at that point, okay? Because these people don't want to hear that.
Yeah, this podcast goes pretty much everywhere, so you're safe.
but not there.
I feel like an underachiever though, because we have 4, and so we have some good friends of ours that also have 4, but they have twins. Their youngest are
Okay,
twins.
yep.
So when we had 3 and they had their twins, he was like, "Hey, we have 4." I'm like, "You cheated! You had 2 at the same time."
There's no really difference from 4 to 5. Just saying.
Okay.
I mean,
It's all a disaster after 3, so we get it.
I hear you, brother.
I spaced mine out
It's
a
a
little
zoo.
bit, so I have teenagers and I got younger ones.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way to go.
us too. We have our oldest is 25 and our youngest is 6.
No, see,
So
You guys have a
Yeah.
25-year-old kid?
yep.
So you
Yeah.
started when you were like 7?
Well, I might have, but
Good on you. Good on, right.
I brought my youngest home the same day I graduated my oldest. So
Yeah.
I told the guy who was sitting next to me at the graduation, I said, "Well, I'll be here 18 years from now." And he goes, "I never thought of it that way. You're right."
Yeah, our youngest is 15 months, and so I'll be 61 when he graduates.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So I just turned 45.
Age
Yeah.
is just a number.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So I was telling him that one of the things I appreciate about you guys, of the several things I appreciate that we want to get into today, but one of them is the absolute relentlessness you have for terrain. So seeing your programming and how you guys are going into the mountains and chasing sheep, and you're going into mountains and chasing elk, and then you've got your prairie stuff, and I know you just had an entire presentation on whitetail where you're maybe primarily blind hunting, but tell me about this like terrain and how you prepare for that kind of thing.
Well, you can kind of look at me from the camera and know that I spend a whole lot of time training. You know what I'm saying? My wife can attest to that.
12-ounce curls?
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah, I was
"You're on
gonna
a
say.
diet this next week." Okay, I got that. But yeah, I mean, we do train, believe it or not. But a lot of it's mental as well. And I love hunting in those environments. They kick my butt.
Yeah.
But I can sometimes outwalk a guy that's skinny and in shape, and a lot of it's right here.
Yep.
And
you want it more.
yeah, you got to have that drive. That's, I guess, why we call it Driven in the first place. I always wanted to name a show that represented who I was as a person and as a hunter, and best told the story just by the title, and that's why I called it Driven in the first place. And I've learned one thing over the years. Been doing this professionally for over 30 years now. Been in the production industry and the hunting industry, but I've learned if you just stay at it long enough and you persevere through the tough times, which there's always tough times in hunting.
What? It
as we
hasn't
all know.
always been easy?
Yeah.
Just
I
yes,
mean-
yes everywhere you go?
Yeah, or you're going to have hardship as you go afield. You just got to persevere through them tough times, because if you keep at it long enough, sooner or later that luck will turn. So yeah.
And it certainly has. I mean, the show that you have is wildly popular. I know we're huge fans of it in our house.
Thank
My
you.
son is a big fan of yours, obviously having met you at some events locally. And
yeah.
you guys have always been so gracious, and we appreciate that about you, that you're not blowing people off, that you take the time and getting Pat over here, Nicole, we were talking about.
I know he gets stopped a lot, but like I was saying in our seminar today, our favorite thing is especially the kids, right? Like you come to these deer classics and you see all the young faces. I would have given anything at my age to have been able to go to deer classics. I don't even know if they existed or not, but my dad just never did. We were hunting. I mean, I always hunted with him. I shot my first deer at 6, and I've been doing it ever since. So, but as far as especially younger girls, I was always the only girl in deer camp, but I didn't know any different at that point in time, right? Like it was just, my dad took my 2 older brothers, and I came along too. Like he just didn't leave me at home. So I think the most special part for me especially is the young girls and young females that come, obviously to the show and stuff, but just youth in general. It's so important to get them involved in the sport of hunting and just the outdoors, period, right? And that's why Pat and I really pursue the outdoor industry in the way we do and come to these deer shows, is just to try to get more, that younger generation involved. So
You do such a great job of incorporating the kids in the shows.
well, it's so natural. They all love it, right? Like, I mean, when they grow up and they're born into a hunting family. So, our youngest just shot his first turkey this last spring at age 5, and he shot his first buck this fall at age 6. So, I mean, he's just ate up with it already, right?
In Kansas, by the way. I want to kind of add that so I don't have the
not in
game wars.
Minnesota. Right.
Let's see those licenses.
Right, but I mean, it's like same thing. Like it's funny because our oldest daughter's here. Like I said, she's 25. Olivia and Carson, is 18 now. They have watched Olivia and Carson grow up on Driven, right? Like it's from just old enough to walk.
From dreaming about shooting her favorite buck out of the box blind
to now, it's amazing to be able to have that impact and impression on our kids, and now our kids are having that impression on other kids and stuff. So it's just really cool to be able to provide that for the hunting community.
I'm glad you brought that up too, and Pat, not to cut you out here, but she didn't get as much mic time before. Just this boom in enthusiasm and participation from the female side of the hunting community has been crazy lately, which is so great for hunting as a whole, right?
Absolutely, and that's, I think, our number one thing. I always say, if you're going to take a new person into the outdoors for the first time, no matter what you have to do, you want to make it a positive experience. The last thing you want to do is take a young female out, especially nowadays. They have clothes that are built for women. They have, bows, all the everything, right?
Yeah.
Equipment that's built specifically for smaller framed hunters.
Muzzle loaders with pink on them.
Right. Like you want to just make it that positive experience, and that's what we always say. Like it's so important in those regards. I remember going out. I had my brother's hand-me-down camouflage. I'd have to pull all the way up and belt tie up,
You're hunting in a tent.
Yes, and trying to climb a tree stand, I mean, but I still loved it, right? It's all about the memories and things, but now all of these hunting companies are jumping on board with the female hunter and the younger hunter, generation, so it makes it a lot more pleasurable for those new hunters coming in for their experiences afield.
And one of the things that we've done for our kids to really kind of hook them on hunting and is, like she said, create that positive experience for the first time. We take them when it's nice weather, when they're not going to be cold.
Right.
Kids
And
have a
whiny.
short, I'll be the first one to admit, kids have a short attention span. You guys got kids, they're consumed by the digital world.
Goldfish.
Looking at their phones and everything else and all these electronics. You want to make sure that first night or that first time you take them, they're going to have kind of a positive, successful experience. Because you don't want to have them get bored with it and go, it was fun hanging out with dad or mom, but I really could care less. If they shoot something and they have...
Or just see animal activity, right? That's...
Yeah.
A field full of deer.
Right.
Yeah, somehow it has to hook them right away.
Yeah.
That makes that experience something they always have in their memory bank to come back on. And that's what gets them out there to do it again and again and again.
Well, I think ground blinds now, permanent blinds, we were talking, we use Muddy and Hawk permanent blinds. I'm telling you what, that is a game changer. The kids can lay on the floor, they can color in the coloring books, they can eat snacks, all those things, right, that make it a positive experience when they're out there.
Like a pontoon. I say, I get it.
Snacks. But I mean, that's super important. And once again, when I grew up, I was climbing up tree stands, and it was cold, and I still and we still do that with our kids because that's hunting part of it too, right?
Yes,
but
right.
The blinds, whether it's a ground blind or a permanent blind,
they help
that has
conceal
enabled
the movement.
and that has enabled us to stay out there longer. Even if it's a little cooler days, that kind of thing. It's helped us be able to stay out there with the kids a little bit longer and have that positive experience.
So it was cool to hear you talk about, because I think it gets neglected a lot in sort of the general hunting community, Pat, as much as you spent talking about scent control, because I think it gets neglected where people are maybe less conscious of it, or they don't think it's as important as it actually is.
Oh, definitely.
You know, I mean, and for us, that's what we've always said. Like, I mean, you can't scent control cameras. I mean, think about it. We have double everything. We have double people, double equipment. Like, you know, you have all this stuff up in a tree that you're trying to conceal. And he said it before in a seminar, like, nothing is 100%, right? Like, it isn't. We try to do as much as we can. I still put makeup on. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
we're
trying to put the odds in our favor.
Yes.
And, I mean, it goes all the way back to my HS days, back when, you know, in the early 2000s when I worked for HS full-time. HS was a scent control company, right? They were the first ones that sent away spray and the green bag and the wafers on your hat. I mean, we looked like a walking Walmart. And I was mandated to use this stuff. And it really forced me to, and then I started seeing the results, and I started understanding, keeping your clothes clean, scent-free, don't watch it, scent-free detergent and all that stuff, take showers with scent-free stuff. It really started to make a difference, and we just have transposed, went to that next level. Now we use, zero trace ion machines, and we use nose jammer to help cover our scent.
So you're proponents of like the bags and the tubs and like the hanging locker.
Anything to keep your hunting gear. And you know what? We got cameras. We don't spray those down because that's going to wreck them. But and there's still a little added advantage to being scent free. I mean, the old days, people thought, well, if I just buy that bottle of spray, that scent away spray, and I walk out there and I just done work, change into my hunting gear and just spray myself down, it's going to fool a big buck. That isn't going to happen. But I always told people, I said, if you go through the right regimens, right, and everybody has different beliefs on different products. I mean, a lot of these products have been on the market for a long time.
Right.
Why? Because they work. If they were a gimmick, they'd be gone. So, if you use them properly, it gives you that little added advantage to where when a deer does smell you, he doesn't just clear the country. He kind of might nervously walk off, but he might even still give you a shot. And that's the advantage you're looking for. It gets them in a little closer and gives you a little bit more opportunity.
Shift from fear to maybe curiosity,
right?
So they don't bolt out right away.
Yeah, exactly.
So how did you get into crossing the border and hunting up in Canada? Because it seems like you guys spend a lot of time up there. I've seen her especially kill some big bucks up there.
Eh? Yeah.
Don't you know?
Canada's one of our favorites. I mean, well, like you said, we go 4, 5, 6 times a year,
Wow.
just depending on what we book and stuff. But, of course, every year to Saskatchewan, to Buckcountry, to, whitetail hunt, and he does a bunch
Bear
of
up there.
Yeah, I mean, bears, and we just do, mule deer, and, of course, the mountain hunts, the sheep and mountain caribou and stuff like that. I think Canada offers... It's just different, right? It's not Alaska. It just offers that extra added advantage. I mean, any American can go up to Alaska and hunt, right? I mean, like, you can go up to Alaska, but in Canada, there are only so many allocated permits. You have to go with an outfitter, stuff like that. So it makes hunting
Bring
a lot
your
better
checkbook.
too, right?
Yeah, you're going to pay.
Yes.
But here's the deal. When you go to Canada, you're not competing with the masses like you are in the States.
Right.
And
especially this state.
Right.
Yeah, you're competing one-on-one with an animal where you ain't got outside pressure because you're hunting in the wilderness areas or whatever. But there's a lot more opportunity there, less hunters, and it's great hunting. And that, in our business, that makes TV shows.
Right.
So that's why we go there. The borders are a little hassle, especially with COVID. We jump through the hoops a little bit, but we love hunting there because it is so unique. The country, if you're hunting in Northwest Territories and you're in the Mackenzie Mountains, the mountains are amazing.
Gorgeous.
They're brutal. They will kill you because they're so steep. But they also are loaded with game. And, go to Saskatchewan and you're hunting in the wilderness areas, non-mountainous, just all these different looks and stuff that I love capturing on camera. I mean, it's kind of a challenge to bring back that and put it together to where the viewers get to experience the hunt vicariously through watching the TV show.
So when did you get into the production side of it? Because I know you said you've been hunting forever, but when did this interest, obviously having Nicole and then having the kids get involved makes it easier for you to stay in the middle of the hunt even though you're not behind the weapon.
Yeah.
But how did that production thing come about?
Oh, many years ago. Pre-Nicole days. But,
okay.
Yeah,
Pre-kids, pre-everything.
Yeah, when I got out of high school, I was doing photography and stuff before there was even
This is
a
like
video.
85 you graduated?
Yeah, 87 to be exact. I ain't gonna date myself, but yeah. They didn't have video cameras, especially prosumer cameras like there are today. I mean, there was broadcast cameras out there, and they were them big, giant beta cams or record decks. I mean, they were as
700
long,
pounds.
they were as long as this table. And that's what I started with. But nobody could afford to buy those besides certain broadcast companies.
Yeah.
But when I started using those cameras and freelancing. I'd freelance for ESPN, and I did a bunch of other freelance work because I had an interest. I wasn't ever trained. I didn't learn production at a college or anything. I just used my creative eye to compose my video shots, and I learned the camera just by trial and error, and I enjoyed it. I was a good hunter, and I had a good photography eye. That's what separated me from the broadcast guys that were trying to film hunting.
Yeah.
And the guys that I filmed, I filmed iconic figures. I mean, you talk about something special. I got to film guys like Miles Keller, Bob Folkrod, legendary guys.
Yeah.
Some people nowadays, I never heard of that. They were iconic figures.
Right.
And Sam Potts's and the Greg Millers, lots of iconic, great hunters over the years. I learned from them, but they always knew that when I was filming them, that I was going to be on the animal and they didn't have to help me run the camera.
Right.
And so I was always in their hip pocket, and we were a good team. And that's what it takes to get good film, is a good team out there to get that footage. And now I went on to work for Hunter Specialties, and that kind of brought me in the production edit side of it to be a producer, because I wanted to bring different things and storyboards to the table, whether it was about albino deer or whatever. It wasn't just about the kill type of hunts where it was just bam, bam, bam. I brought special interest pieces that interested me as a deer hunter, and it separated Primetime Bucks. It separated that production from outside productions, and through my efforts, and then I went on to produce North American Whitetail Television's first couple years, and then on to our own. In 2004, I started Driven.
And I have to assume that the goal was always to get your own program, because you can't make money working for somebody else, right?
Well,
I mean, as a fellow realtor.
right, you understand it.
Yeah.
In 2004, I met a crossroads in my life, and it was a tough crossroads because I was making a great salary, working for a big company, had a #1 TV show out there. I didn't own it. They owned it. And I built it, it was my baby. I babysat it. And there was other great talent on there. But at that point, when my legs got kind of cut out from underneath me, I had to make a decision. I was at that crossroads to either do my own thing or go back to work for somebody else and helping build their brand. I said, you know what? As long as I got sponsor support. So I called Matthews, with a company I've always been with since the beginning. And I called a few other companies, and I said, would you support me if I did my own thing? And they said yes. And that really helped me get started, because without their support, and I've been with those companies ever since, it's helped us stay out there and have the money behind us that it takes to run a production. And Nicole joined us in 2007, and you know what? I mean, it's I'm just humbled to be still in the business, because it's an ever-changing business from
Yes,
what it
is.
used to be.
Yeah.
And we're still doing it. We still love it.
Well, it's incredible to see the evolution of what you're doing, because I remember when it was just the TV show, and now you've got cooking stuff, and you've got the real estate, properties. You're helping folks get into hunting that way too. And
Hey,
so
well, with 5 kids and they start growing up and they're like, I want to do what you do. We're like, well, we better start figuring something out here. So,
you gotta go TikTok.
so we're branching out.
We're working on TikTok. I'm not cool enough to be on TikTok.
Yeah, I was going to say, except some of the content they come up with, I'll probably be like, probably not, right?
You're not doing some dances?
I know.
Yeah, she's going to start dancing. Maybe today here for you guys.
Oh boy, that would be exciting
Y'all
content.
want to see that, right?
Let's get a song queued up.
Right.
Yeah, we were talking with Jeff Frederick, the turkey guy, before. The really nice guy. Had a great conversation with him, and he was talking about that transition and having his teenagers help him with the social media stuff.
Right.
And I was telling him that we just went to a social media summit, real estate specific, talking about that evolution of where the industry is going. And the presenter said that in 2020 and 2021 both, that TikTok got more hits, like views, than Google. So I was like, ooh boy, it's like an eye-opening.
It's a big one, but as you know, TikTok limits what you can show.
Right.
You're regulated. You can't show, shooting an animal. They don't like no weaponry. It's a fine line to walk. And so let's just say, I want the viewers to understand the difficulties in what we face. I'm sure you do too.
Yep.
Building your brand on a platform that's not so hunter friendly is hard to do, because you build your TikTok numbers high, and all of a sudden they go, oh, we don't like them because they're hunters. Whoop, off you go. Guess what? All your efforts.
We just had our Instagram account hacked, and to get a hold of anybody at Facebook or Instagram is like worse than getting a hold of the president. I mean, it's horrible.
So you can't get a hold of him. We have no chance.
Like, it's gone. The people that took it, he
overseas.
hijacked it. Then he proceeds to message us on my email that was attached to the Instagram and said, why don't you contact me on the WhatsApp and I'll let you know what ransom I want to get your page back. I don't want to harm you, and I don't want to harm your brand, is what they go on to say. So
I told my wife, invite him on a hunt. I'd love to take him hunting right now.
I mean, but we're dead in the water, right? So our Instagram page was down for about a week or so before I finally was lucky enough to have someone contact me back and go through all the steps. But it's real though. You spend a lot of time and effort on building these social platforms, and just like that, whoop, the rug can be pulled out from underneath you.
That's why we're dedicated to a hunter-related platform like the Drury's have with DeerCast and stuff.
Yeah, we do a lot with them with DeerCast because it is hunter-related.
And they're not going to take it down because offended by a hunting
And you
post.
can post really how it goes down, and then what, you know what I mean? Like, whereas some of these others, you can't show impact shots, you can't show dead animals, all those things. To whereas DeerCast, what you see is what we saw out when we're in, the woods.
They're missing the boat. Like, that's what people want to see.
Right, for this end. So.
Right.
It's ever changing, but it offers a set of challenges, like you said, even in the real estate, and we just got to keep up with the times, I mean, I always laugh because I say this all the time to people. I'm like, well, I guarantee my grandkids are going to say in the near future, hey, they'll be talking, they're like, hey, your grandfather and your grandma used to shoot things on a thing called TV where all the public in the world could watch it.
That must be 8-tracks, Dad.
Their kids are going to look at them like, what's TV? And, it's just the way it is. I mean, 8-track related, right? I remember those.
It was like an app on your TV. Like that was it was a show.
Right.
It was a show, but you couldn't just find it. It was at a certain time every week.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, I remember 8-tracks, man. When they came out, I sat in my mom's Corvette, and I thought I went to a concert. Now you listen to an 8-track, you're like, that is garbage.
Right. Yeah. The sound quality, the clarity, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's probably similar to that with what you guys do, not only from a production standpoint, but just equipment. What you started hunting with when you first got in, you're shooting animals when you're 5 and 6, to what the technology is now with the compound bows. It's amazing.
Right. I remember, like, Matthews came out with like it's
a log with a string on it.
Ultramax or something, and you were like, dude, this is the best ever bow. And I kept it. I got it. I got an SQ2 up in the rafters. And the other day I pulled it back. I'm like, my God, this thing is a relic. And I'm like, wait a minute. I thought this was the best ever. And every year they just continually get better and better. And you go, and I think, hey, this last model, everybody asks me, well, do you like this year's bow? Of course I do. I like them every year more and more. But, to pull back an old one and you're like, oh, I can't believe I actually used this and shot stuff with it. It's just, that's
my bow's 80 pounds. Oh, you're drawing 80? No, that's how much it weighs.
I know.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Right.
So what's on the horizon for Driven and for Pat Nicole for 2022?
We've got some big hunts planned. He's got some big hunts planned for these next few years here going out.
You want to give a little teaser?
Oh, yeah. Well, we just got back. We were just hunting this week.
We were turkey hunting in Florida. Yeah, we just, from 85 and sunny. He wore shorts on the airplane back to Minnesota on Thursday night, and he stepped off. He's like, yeah, I don't think it's short weather here.
Bad idea.
I'd
But
still
yeah,
be in
so-
Florida if it wasn't for having to come back and do the show here.
Right. But yeah, so we did Minnesota, and of course we're gonna have Minnesota turkey, Iowa turkey. He's got some big shed hunts. He goes up with our good friends Cody and Kelsey Robbins from Live to Hunt up in Saskatchewan, and he's gonna do a shed hunt up there. So those, of course, and then we've got some pretty big hunts planned for this fall.
This summer, we're going to-
Yeah, we're going to Hawaii. Our oldest daughter got married, like we said, this past year, so we for their honeymoon trip, we're taking them to Hawaii. I know you're honeymooning with your parents, but
We're
they're
But it's
excited.
Hawaii.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
we're going hunting.
So-
in
We're going
Hawaii.
hunting.
What do you hunt in Hawaii?
Axis deer.
Okay.
Yep. So we're gonna go there, and we'll hunt with them for a few days, and they'll go do their own thing. We'll do
And
our
a
own
cold
thing,
beer.
so.
We hunt cold beer.
But yeah, so we'll do Hawaii in July, and then still planning a mountain hunt for August. And he's got we've got mule deer, elk, moose in the Yukon. So yeah,
We did- we
a
went
lot
to-
of big adventure.
Yeah, we went to the SCI show out in Vegas here a couple weeks back, and we booked a Spain hunt. For
We're gonna do ibex in
ibex.
Spain
Ibex,
this
that's
next
a cool
March.
animal.
Yeah, really cool.
And we've got New Zealand booked, and then he's crazy. He's going to shoot a Marco Polo over on the Afghanistan border, which I think he's absolutely nuts, and I'm upping his life insurance before he does that.
So can I just interject into that one spot? Because we had Oscar Carlson on the show, and he was talking all about, because he's got 4 or 5 Grand Slams,
Yeah.
and
Right.
he's got a Marco Polo, and he was sharing those stories of having to literally buy cases of vodka to get through the checkpoints,
Yeah.
bribing the guards and stuff. I was like, I
It
can't even
I
imagine.
know, and that, yeah, he thinks he wants to do it. I'm like, I'll be right here in the United States on Minnesota soil.
Right.
Here.
Cornfield, that's enough danger.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's part of the experience, I like that.
Bulletproof vest hunting.
I'm not sure I want to go to Russia right now, but it's on,
Yeah, he's
it's on
supposed
my
to.
radar.
Yeah, he's supposed to go to Russia next year to go brown bear hunting, and yeah, so.
We'll see, right?
Yeah,
We'll
so it's
see.
just one of those things. Yeah, we've got a ton of hunts booked. Yeah, a lot of big game stuff, and tons of whitetails, of course, again. So.
Well, you guys grow some pretty big deer on your properties.
Well, I'm hoping this year I get drawn. So last year I didn't get drawn for Iowa or Kansas, hence why he shot all the big deer. So hopefully this year he gets to stay home
You're
and I
never
get
living
to
it
go.
down.
So.
We'll see. But I always put a little more money in the envelope. That's how I get drawn.
Yes, the right people in the right pocket to stick
Oh,
it
yeah.
in.
Right. But yeah, so no, we got some good stuff coming, and like I said, all of our kids are really getting involved and hunting a little more too. So yeah, it's awesome.
Are there plans long term to have the kids more? I mean, because they have some features on the show, but maybe to incorporate them more.
Well, is that even a question? I mean, I would like to retire someday. But Pat always tells me in this industry, people don't retire. They just keep hunting until they die. I'm like, oh,
I don't think
boy.
you're supposed to retire at 30, Nicole.
I know.
That's what I tell her.
But
I'm
no,
like, "You
yeah,
got a
I
long
mean-
time. I can retire pretty soon. But since she's younger, she can work a lot while I'm out having fun.
Right.
I'm in the same boat. It's actually it's my wife's birthday today. Her name is Emily.
Oh, well,
Happy
happy birthday
birthday.
to her.
Thank
yes,
you.
that's
so
cool.
she has been gracious enough, using her Catholic, humble self, to let me come here and do this today.
Right.
But
right.
we do have plans tonight. But she, so she's always been really supportive in that way
Yep.
too. And so.
Yep. I think it's important, right? I mean, he's on the road and a lot, and I am too. And my parents watch our littlest a ton, and then our oldest daughter, her and her husband watch him too. So we have a very good support system. We're a very close family, so it's just nice in that regards because we couldn't do what we do
Without them, yeah.
right? So it's just.
And you're from Minnesota. Well, you live in Minnesota.
He is. I'm originally from Southern Illinois. So my parents actually drive 10 and a half hours to just come and stay with our kids while we travel. So,
Okay.
But like I said, yeah, we have a great support system, and all the kids are definitely wanting to get involved, but we're making them earn their stripes. Nothing comes for free, so.
Carry
they're
gear.
Right. Well, I mean, just learning, right? I mean, they think right now, of course, you take them on all these extravagant hunts and, we just shoot an animal and life is good. They don't
they're
know
always
behind-
this big, Dad.
Right. They don't know behind the scenes, of what it takes to do the production and everything, but they're quickly learning and they're all really getting involved and, they love every second of it. So.
That's the coolest part is that, eventually someday, we can kind of semi-retire. I don't think nobody retires from
Right,
this
I mean, we'll always
business.
hunt, but I mean,
Yeah.
But you
all
go
the back
from-
end of the business will be nice to have the kids take care of instead of us.
Maybe leave the cameras at home because I'm just going hunting.
But you know what? It's fun now, though, to have cameras because we get to share it with our, like he
Oh,
said,
yeah.
who knows if television will even be around. So watching grandma or great-grandma and grandpa or, even them, their kids will get to see them hunting from a young
Yeah.
age, up to.
Yeah,
so.
I might have hunted, back, I think 16 was my cutoff time frame where I didn't film hunts. But I've never went to the woods ever since without a camera. Not one time. I mean, I don't care if I'm on a squirrel hunt. I've always had a camera there to capture the experience. And
Sure.
you never know what can happen out there.
Right.
Even some days when you go afield, you're like, man, I don't need to bring the camera because nothing's really gonna happen. But the rule of thumb is, when you least expect it,
A 200-inch deer
seems
walks
up.
by.
Or something, yeah, something crazy. You're like, man, I wish I had a camera. So always have a camera. I don't go anywhere without one, and that's served me well over the years.
So when you are on a hunt, how many people are typically with you in that team? Because when we see on the show that 30 minutes where you're just getting a small taste of the 300 hours it took to make that episode, right?
It just depends, on our hunt location, where we're going. If we both have tags, our team can be a group of 6 and it can be a group of 3, him and I with one cameraman. Because I'm running camera, he's running camera, and the cameraman's running camera, right? So, we're a pretty small team. We conquer a lot and with just a
The smaller the
minimal,
better.
right?
There's a lot of entertainment value in those episodes where you both have tags. Or
Right.
maybe you're tagged into different species, but you go to the same area. Like,
Let me
that's
tell you the
super cool.
strategy of my husband. He thinks I need to shoot out first because I'll shoot a little bit smaller one, so then he'll have the rest of the hunt to hunt a bigger one. But a lot of times it doesn't work out so well for him.
Yeah, I've noticed that actually.
Yeah, I get that a lot from viewers. Like, man, your wife always shoots bigger stuff than you. I'm like, well, happy wife, happy life.
Yeah, I always say happy wife, stay alive. So
Right, there you go.
You got it down right too. I don't know how you got out today and do this, but I mean, she's obviously a good woman.
she is, yeah. We had some friends over last night, and I bought her a nice bottle of wine, all that stuff. And then I'm cooking steak and scallops and stuff tonight for her. It's what she wanted for her birthday
What time's
supper.
that?
I know,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, you guys are welcome. Bring the bus.
Well, thank you for having us.
Oh, it's been such an honor to sit and talk with you folks, and
Right.
obviously to see you again. And
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
I know you're pulled in 50 directions today, so thank you for giving us a few minutes.
Absolutely, yeah.
my
Thanks for
pleasure.
having us.
Yes.
Anytime.
So real quick, if you just tell them where folks can find you now that Instagram's back and all this
Right.
stuff.
So we are, of course, on all the social media networks under Driven Hunter, Driven TV, and then Outdoor Channel on Tuesday nights at 9:30 Eastern, so 8:30 Central, and then 4 other airings throughout the week. So,
Okay. Folks,
Yep.
ladies and gentlemen, Pat Nicole Reeves from Driven, and thanks for joining us.
yeah, thanks, guys.
No problem. Thank you.
Make sure to like and subscribe, and please hit that bell icon. Stay tuned for more.
Boots and Backstraps, brought to you by Homes by Shayne and produced by Danny Geo Productions.
Boots and Backstraps is proudly brought to you by Homes by Shayne. Making your move with the Homes by Shayne team means an unparalleled customer service experience. That level of service is the foundation of this referral-based business. Our driven team of experts communicate with their clients every step of the way, ensuring a memorable experience from the first conversation through your closing day. Go to homesbyshane.com for more information. Let's get you home. All right, folks, welcome back to Boots and Backstraps. We are filming live here at the Outdoor News Deer and Turkey Classic. We just had Pat Nicole Reeves from Driven TV on to talk about all their stuff, and ran into some friends of ours. I'm super excited to be joined over here with us by Chris and Nikki. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. How are you?
Good. So not only accomplished hunters and friends, but also outdoor enthusiasts, right?
Yep.
So I know you brought this mount over, but I don't want to get to that just yet.
No, that's a teaser.
Yeah, it is, and a huge teaser at that. We'll get into that whole story. But so, how did you get into hunting in general? Like, what brought you into the hunting community?
I've always hunted with my family. From a little girl, we were shooting like the little bows, and then we graduated to guns, and then between sports, we would always go hunting. So it's always been a thing, but Chris has a little bit different of experience with that.
Yeah, so my dad stopped hunting when I was born because it was expensive to go and, do hunting and take away from your family and stuff. So I never really got into hunting until probably I was 13, 14. My uncle started to introduce me, I just grab all their hand-me-downs and go out and sit on their platforms while they're hunting.
Yeah.
And I slowly got into it, and I got my first bow when I was 13, and I've never looked back. I'm super into archery now, and I just haven't quit.
So I know you are an archer, but you guys also, aside from archery, do you also firearm hunt?
So I do. My first gun bow buck that I got was when I was 12, I think. So I've been doing that, and then I went on a ram hunt with a 243 and got that. And
Wow, what state was that in?
it was Texas. It was on a fence farm, but
High
it was
fence?
still really fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, so I still do some gun stuff. He's strictly a bow person, and then
Purist.
Yeah.
he wants to get anything with a bow first, and then if he can, he'll do a gun.
Yeah.
But he'd prefer to get everything with the bow.
Right. No, I have such a passion for the archery and the different thing. Not to say that gun hunting is bad or, it doesn't take skill or anything.
But it is, we can admit, it's way harder with a bow.
It is extremely hard, and the challenge and the whole intricacy and the intimacy of it.
You're not squeezing one off from 300 with a bow and arrow.
You can try.
Well, we had gone elk hunting this last September, was it?
Yeah, September.
And,
Just this most recent September.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
what state was that in?
I was in Utah, and it was pre-rut, so you
Did you-
really had to get close if you were going to get anything. The first day we saw something, but then after that, it was all like, if you wanted to see something, you would have been better off having a gun with you because everything was like 300 yards away.
Because of hunting pressure, or
Yeah, it was Labor Day weekend, so
That didn't help.
in that area they use a lot of firewood and deadfall. You have locals come in and they cut, and it was like all of a sudden that's how they spent their Labor Day weekend was they cut firewood, and that's how they heated their house, and they just trampled everywhere.
okay, gotcha.
So
And so I guess I don't even know because I haven't hunted Utah before, but is that over the counter or is it draw?
Yeah, it was over the counter.
Okay.
I don't know if they changed it after this last season.
Yeah, I don't
Something
know.
weird was happening in Utah.
Yeah, you can't even use trail cameras in Utah.
Oh, interesting.
They're 100% illegal.
During the season,
Yeah.
you have to take everything down.
So what was the tag like out there? Because I know, like, we almost always hunt Colorado when we're hunting elk because it's $670. And if you go to Montana this last year, it was like 1,100 or something in 2021.
I want to say the tag itself was like
Seven something?
$650.
Oh, wow. Great.
So it's about the same price as Colorado. The guide, it was 5-day hunt for $2,500, so that was pretty cheap.
2,500 each?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that is really cheap.
Yeah, fully guided. They would have helped us pack it out and everything.
Did they put you on bulls or just that first
I was
day?
at full draw the first day at a big old 5x5 at 30 yards, but his vitals was like right behind a couple quaky aspens, and there's no shot. No shot. I couldn't move or anything. It was just...
You know what, though? Seriously, compliment to you for not taking like an unethical shot.
Yeah.
Because a lot of hunters would do that, knowing that you may not get that close the rest of the trip.
Right.
They might take one, shoot him in the ass or something.
Yeah. Well, and that's she tried to get us on it, but like when they're not bugling, you can't really get them chasing or like coming to you. So we had to keep trying to go in after them, and it was just like, all right, we're just gonna keep bumping them down the canyon, and then they
Right.
might come back up.
Right, right. So are you guys... So it seems like there's a couple of different philosophies when it comes to elk specifically. I know we're spending a lot of time on elk, but I'm interested because I love elk.
Oh,
Right.
It's
right.
my favorite meat.
We want to
it's
go back
awesome.
out.
We're going, for sure.
So when you're hunting elk, do you take that run and gun approach, or you bugle go, or are you guys like to maybe find a spot and post up?
Personally, I was thinking because the style of hunting we were doing was the more run and gun, where she would call and nothing came, so we'd move and go and just kind of keep going.
Yeah.
But I like the more of like, hey, we know they're bedded like right here. We know they're coming down the valley. You know, she knew all this stuff.
Yep.
So it's like,
Yeah, she
Wait
put
it
in
out.
a
Like
lot
wait
of
it
hard
out.
work.
I mean, because there's a couple times where we literally ran up right on a whole herd, and you just hear, and I'll never forget the smell of an elk.
Oh, yeah.
When you smell it, it's like
It's distinct.
Oh, Lord.
It is, and it's like, wait, that's an elk.
Someone's got nasty cologne on.
Yeah.
When of course we're in
You're
a single
never getting a
file
date.
line.
Yeah.
When it first happened, we were in a single file line, and I looked at her and I was like, "Did you just fart?"
Yeah.
She
wasn't me.
She
Like-
turned around. She's like, "That's the elk." I'm like, "Oh."
It's like, oh, I had some
got it now.
asparagus last night. Sorry.
Long ride.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was our first experience. I'll shout out her. She's lickety split outdoors out of Utah. She does a lot of bear stuff too, and I thought that was pretty cool. So we picked her brain on that. But we definitely want to go out again.
And she put you on elk.
Yeah, she did. She did a great job.
Yeah,
Does
she'll do mule deer too.
Okay. Does she do archery and firearm?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. But you guys obviously went archery specifically.
Yeah.
There's no firearm over Labor Day.
Right.
Too early in the year.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I think if we would have planned it better, it would have been more around like whitetail opener. We would have gone out to Utah instead because that's when they're rutting more, and we probably would have had better luck.
Oh yeah. So I like geeked out on elk a few years ago. My first ever hunt ever, because I just got into hunting 6 years ago.
Yeah.
So I didn't grow up with it. I wasn't introduced to it. My family doesn't hunt. I'm the only one, other than my one brother, who got into it late like me. Anyway, so when my first hunt was Colorado elk.
Yeah.
And so it's like an unbelievable experience for your first hunt.
Yeah.
And we didn't end up filling tags that year. But it's like after that, I just got obsessed.
Yeah.
So I started reading all this stuff about
it.
moon phase and, you're paying attention to like estrus cycle.
Yeah.
And because you do want to go when you
Yep.
got the best shot of not only seeing elk, but being able to get close enough to get a shot.
Well, and that's even me with hunting this year. So it was my first year archery hunting, and I didn't realize how much work went into hunting because me and my like our family, it was literally like, all right, openers this next weekend. We got our stands up like a couple weeks ahead of time, and then you just go out, walk 5 minutes in the backyard
Yeah.
to go hunting, and that was it. So
I learned her this year. I learned her.
You learned her.
It's
Good
like a-
English, sir.
It's like a 10 to 1 your
Yeah.
pre-hunt versus your actual hunt. You got to put a lot of
Right.
time into,
Yeah.
especially for elk.
Yeah.
All that Google mapping and like
Oh gosh.
putting like potential areas and like looking at that spot between
Yeah.
north-facing dark timber where there's water, where there's food source, like all
Yeah.
that stuff, right?
Right.
Well,
I
You
mean,
said bedding, like
yeah. Even like our whitetail, like I am obsessed with whitetail. Like I drive her crazy because it's like, oh, this food plot. Okay, so if I do this plot or blah blah blah, and it's just, if I'm not educated about it, I'm
Yeah.
reading everything there is to know about it.
I mean, that's how you get to be the best is to always be learning. So
Right.
And the sad thing is a majority of the hunters out there don't do that.
yeah.
No.
Like they literally just pull their hunting stuff out of the garage and throw it on and go in the woods a couple weekends a year, and then they hope
Yep.
they cross their fingers that something that is brown walks by
Yep.
Right.
and they can knock it down. And it's
Well, and
like
that's why it's hard to get deer this big is because that's what happens half the time, especially in Minnesota with the rut happening right when firearm is that
Yeah.
all the little ones get picked off.
Yep.
And it's weird too because 2 years ago, firearm it was like almost 70 degrees that whole weekend.
Yeah.
Then this last year firearm it was really chilly and windy.
Yeah.
We
Welcome to
hunted like way
Minnesota.
north, so yeah.
I
So
was down in Missouri when it was terrible. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Last year.
and that's draw down there, right?
Missouri is not. Missouri is over the counter.
Okay.
So yeah.
But
yeah.
like, are you hunting public or do you got some private
I actually
connections?
guided for an outfitter down there for 5 years.
Okay,
So
wow.
We went down there, and yeah, it was always the dread of whether it's going to be that 80-degree bow, rut, gun, whatever, or is it snow?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's really weird down there.
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk because I might have to hire you to get me on some deer around here. Yeah,
For sure.
Tom, obviously you guys know Tom.
Yep.
Good friends. He's our good friend, and he's normally a co-host of this podcast.
Yep.
But he's committed to the show today here for the Classic, where he's introducing the celebrities and he's talking about the world-class deer mounts and things like that, including this one. And so he will pop in occasionally throughout the day here, but right now he's otherwise distracted.
I know. He kept walking by and being like, Danny, can I photobomb yet?
Yeah, exactly. So one of his really good friends, the guy that owns the Hog's Breath Bar in Little Canada, has his family's got like 3,500 acres in northern Minnesota, like almost to Canada.
Oh wow.
and it's all farmland up there everywhere, and they've got unbelievable deer hunting up there because they've been hunting it for 40 years.
Right.
So they have like a
And they're
map.
the only ones there.
Yeah, and they've got a map on the wall with all the stand locations, and they
Yep.
decide who's going to what stand on what day, and
Right.
you know, the house that they stay in is like unbelievable, and so that was a cool experience, but that's not the norm, right?
No.
No.
Yeah, the norm is like what you guys are doing.
Right.
Grinding
Getting
it
your
out.
Small little partials, grinding it out, figuring out what you can do to maximize everything you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as people that hunt regularly, have experience, like put the time in, for those that are maybe less experienced, like if Travis was still here, because he's very
He's
new to
the
this.
kid.
He's baby.
Baby boy.
How do you go about describing prep for whitetail season specifically?
Saddle up. Saddle up. It's a ride.
Put your seatbelt on.
I mean, as a like comparing my previous experience to last year, it's a lot of all right. Let's put trail cameras up. Let's see how the deer are moving. Like I had a general idea from before on my grandma's farm, but like it was a lot of putting trail cameras out. We do some mineral blocks just to encourage, I guess, deer to come that way. But
Consistency with the
Yeah.
travel, right?
yep,
Something to get them to stop, like, you know, I mean, and trail cameras is huge. Getting the knowledge you get from a trail camera is,
Yeah.
you can't get it anywhere
Right.
else.
Where are they? What are they doing when they're there?
yeah, and then we have farmers that rotate beans and corn. So he, being the genius behind all this,
The
put-
brains of the operation.
Yes.
Brains and the
Somebody's
beauty.
gotta be.
It's a good team.
Yeah, yep.
He picked out stand location and making sure that you have all your lanes cut. Like we had everything set up by July, August before
Yeah.
September opener.
Yeah, I'd say honestly, boots on the ground is the best thing, you know, if you
I've heard that.
get in early, get into, you know, your summer. And even right now, I mean, in Minnesota, it sucks. We got snow everywhere, and you're going to be sweating, but it's just get in there, get what you can get done, figure out what's going. Because right now, with the snow, you can see the paths, you can see where they're traveling, you know, and even if it's a main doe travel area, you know, if like you're a rut hunter, I mean, you know that's going to be crisscrossed with a bunch of bucks.
Yeah.
And you know at one point a buck's going to run down that.
I think the hardest thing for me to learn was what was a rub on a tree and what was just the tree falling apart.
Oh, sure.
Cedars and stuff like that.
sometimes
yeah.
it's like, hey, there's a rub. He's like, no, that's just a decaying tree.
Yeah. That would be confusing.
Yeah.
You got to start mixing it up between, okay, there's a rub and then there's also a scrape, right?
Yeah.
You kind of see those two things?
Yeah.
Or a licking stick somewhere?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm
So-
okay admitting that.
So last year you guys had whitetail and elk. Anything else you hunted in 2021?
Turkey.
Turkeys?
Turkey
Okay.
for sure.
You
I got
hunt
my-
locally for turkey then?
Yeah, I hunted all over the place, all over Minnesota, and
He's in a bow hunting league also. So.
yeah, the bow hunting league. Shout out bow hunting league.
Nice.
We were. I was trying to do everything I could to get my first turkey, and I hunted everywhere. Her and I tried. We picked up a great piece. We went out opening morning, and we heard like 13 toms gobbling on this one piece. It was crazy. And
Like heaven.
the best part
Turkey
of the whole
boner.
hunt, best part of the whole hunt, watching her the first time the gobble, she's like, stop. And I'm like,
Every time I hear one, I just giggle. I'm like, it's right there.
but yeah, I ended up shooting. Had a 10.5-inch beard with 1.5-inch spurs.
Right behind his
Wow.
house.
Turkey.
He run and gun
Wow.
with his bow
I
at
ran
his
and gun.
house.
Yeah, I
Through
was
a
in my food
swamp.
plot behind my house, and I was just messing around doing stuff that you normally do as a whitetail hunter in the summer
Yeah.
or the spring. And all of a sudden I hear just a gobbler hammering off, just hammering. So I ran 400 yards back to my parents' place, grabbed my bow, my blind, and my decoys. I'm in blue jeans and a black t-shirt. I grabbed my vest, and I ran all the way back. And I mean, literally 5 minutes. I didn't want to go to my food plot, so I came up, and he actually ended up going to my food plot, and he came back. I killed him at 5 yards, cut his head off.
You're kidding me.
Yeah,
No.
no, I just hammered. I'm like, really? I went all over the state of Minnesota trying to shoot just one bird, and here it is in my backyard.
And a pig, too.
Giant, yeah.
So when you're... Okay, so I'm trying to play this out in my head. When you're running over there, you got all this shit you're carrying with you.
It's just loaded.
Did you get any of it set up, or you just had to like drop it and fire away?
I dropped it.
He had the
I
blind.
put the
set
blind up,
yeah.
and I literally just kind of threw my decoys out. We have the Dave Smith breeding pair, and I didn't even set the Jake up on top of the hen, or the pole line or anything. I threw him out there, and then
He came
boom,
right in?
There he was, right there. He's just hammering at him.
That is awesome.
Cool.
What a fun story. Do you have a photo of that?
I do. I have a photo of where he died right in front of my.
He has a nice
Line.
photo too, not just
Yeah.
a dead photo.
Okay, yeah, because I'm going to definitely want to get that from you because
Okay.
we can mix it into the episode
For sure.
in
Yeah.
post.
For sure, yeah.
It'd be cool for people to see that.
Yeah.
All right, so fall comes around. It's time to get in the woods and look for whitetail.
Yeah.
And then this, like Godzilla deer walks by.
Not even. So.
Yeah, like tell me this story. How did this come together?
So I work all the time, so I would go whenever I couldn't work, and it was October 25th. It was literally the perfect day. It was what was it? It was like 60s, 70s, not even, and there was
No,
barely
it was
a breeze.
like 45 degrees that
No,
morning.
it wasn't.
It was cold.
It wasn't that
I
cold.
remember that cold.
I was in the afternoon.
I know, and
Will
in
you
the
stop?
evening it got cold.
No. Anyways,
Well,
my
that's a
story.
typical Minnesota day though, where it's like 30 in the morning and 80 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was seriously the perfect day. I gotten in the stand around like 2 o'clock, and we had gotten a picture of this particular buck 5 days before at night. So I had no idea it was in the area until that day, so October 20th. And then I sent it to my family, and my sister's like, "Oh yeah, we knew about that." I'm like, "All right, we're keeping
course you did.
secrets in this family."
Wait,
now."
they knew that this deer was there?
Yeah.
They had pictures of them all summer long.
So,
Are they hunters?
yeah. So they kept it to themselves. I'm like, all right, that's fine.
That's dirty.
It's a
Yeah.
little dirty, but it's fine. I had shot her deer last year, so I don't think she wanted me to get this one.
That's like, I'm talking like bad Christmas present
Well,
dirty.
I
No.
think part of it,
Coal
too,
in their
is
stockings.
We had a deer too on the farm that we called Larry.
Yeah, we were after.
He's like a
there's-
150-inch 9-point,
Which is still really nice.
Beautiful spread. I ended up shooting him in the shoulder. I mean, I can admit that it was a bad shot. Whatever.
He ducked the string, bro. He ducked the string.
Yeah. No,
No,
that was on me.
it's called buck fever.
Yeah, he was a really big deer, 20 yards. So they were after him before, and we were after him, and then when we kind of left off, all of a sudden her dad's like, there's a booner out there, right? I'm like, no, and then we got that picture, and it was like blew up.
Yep.
So
Yeah. We had known about it for about 5 days, and I was like, all right, like I might be able to see him. I'm just happy if like a shooter walks in, because
Yeah.
I literally had this fork that I kept seeing, and then I saw his basket sticks, and they would always walk behind me, and I'm like, cool, like you're getting my heart pumping, but like I don't want you to be my first deer
No,
that
you
I
don't
shoot with my
shoot
bow.
That fork?
I
No.
tried so hard.
I'm like, no, I have a little bit bigger standards in this. Like, I want to see if you can be an 8 next year. Like, I'll
Right.
shoot you as an 8.
Right.
So I was sitting and
He could like be 8 with a kick or something
Yeah.
and surprise you.
Right.
yeah, and I was like, I know what's on here. Like, I just want something a little bit bigger for my first bow kill.
Yeah.
And I was getting antsy because I really just wanted to shoot something. I was like, I've never shot something with my bow. We tried going hog hunting this year also. We forgot to mention that. And
Yeah.
like, I still hadn't gotten to kill anything. So I was sitting there and I was just glassing a little bit across the field, and I see this fat doe cross the fence, and I was like, okay, you're mine. If you come in front of me, I'm shooting you. I don't care anymore. Like, I have a doe tag. I'm going to shoot that.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, gonna get my bow
They
set
still
up.
taste good.
Yeah,
Right?
venison's
Meat's
venison.
meat. And then I look back up and I see this huge deer with this big rack that I can see without my binoculars come across the fence, and I was like, holy cow, that's a big deer.
Heart's racing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was shaking like a leaf, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a big deer. I'm like, all right, it's still 150 yards away, like in the middle of this bean field. Like, if it comes in front of me, obviously, like, I need to be prepared. So I'm like, all right, quit looking at that rack.
So
it's
wait,
a
are you-
nice rack, sir, but like, I need to stop looking at it.
Are you in a ground blind or you're in a tree stand or?
We're in the tree stand that he set up on the bean field.
Okay, great. Tree stand. Perfect.
Which, I mean, I'll give you pictures so Aaron can or Danny can put them up too.
Yep.
Um,
Downwind, presumably, because he came in.
Yeah, he was just chasing this doe, so he literally was mirroring everything that she did, like 10 yards behind her. So it was perfect. So she started to head towards me, and I was like, okay, this might turn into something. All right. So
I'm excited
it's
for you right
literally
now.
in the matter of like 5 minutes that this happens. As I'm watching it come across, I'm like, all right, we're looking at the doe. She's coming towards me, and literally I watch her just come down down the field and starts to go broadside, and I was like, okay, she's gonna she's gonna come right in front of me. So I'm like shaking, but I'm like, all right, the buck is now a doe in my head. I'm like not even looking at the rack.
You have
I'm like,
to,
all
right? You have to.
All right, body wise, where am I going to shoot? Like thinking of all this prep that we've put in. Like, all right, we're going just like mid body.
So
That's
at this
all
point,
you're
how far
thinking.
out are they?
They're probably about 60 yards away.
Okay, so they're getting on that edge where you're going to pull
yeah,
the
Coming
trigger.
on
and
the string.
I mean like.
Because with
he's
as much as
trained.
you shoot, you could shoot 60.
Yeah, I could, but I was like, I don't want to. I'm not comfortable. Like, we want a 30 or less here.
Yeah, right.
So I had like
You're like,
pegged
hey,
like
Mrs.
where
Doe,
30 yards
bring him
was.
in.
Yeah, so I'd pegged where 30 yards was with my rangefinder when we had first gotten into the stand, and I literally watch as the doe comes like right where that 30 yards is, and I'm like, oh my gosh. All right, he just has to take like 10 more steps, and then we'll be able to get him. So I literally watch as he just like goes, and I'm like, all right, when do I draw? So he was like munching as he was like walking. So I was like, all right, here we go. And he had literally just walked, stopped, and I was like, all right, find the middle of his body and go. And
So he puts his head down and you pulled it back.
Yep, and then he had like put his head up, and I was like, ding, okay, here we are.
Let her fly.
Yeah, I let her fly, and all I watched was him run away, and I call him right away, and I was like, he's like, did you shoot a big buck? I was like, I shot a big buck. I shot a big buck.
Because I was at work, and I'm like, and it was a beautiful sunset, one of those clear, calm nights, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh gosh, she's gonna see something tonight. She calls me, and I'm like, please tell me you shot a deer and you're not already out of the stand. Like I was just like, oh, I
What
was
kind
so
of mood
worried.
are you in?
Yeah. Like,
For
what
the
happened?
record, I had only gotten out of the stand early a couple times because my hands and feet were cold.
Sure, that makes sense.
She's a trooper.
I don't like getting down in the dark if I'm already cold.
Right, that makes sense.
So
So he was about 30. Let him
yeah,
have it. Where
he
did
was at 30 yards. I hit him a little bit higher. First time shooting a deer. So he had ducked it a lot more than I thought. So it hit high lung, but it came out on the opposite side on the lower lung. So.
right? Because you're 15 feet in the air.
Yeah. Yep. So I watched him run, and all I remember, like, I was like, all right, I got to see where he goes. Like, I remember that much with hunting. And all I remember is a cedar, and then he was gone. I'm like, I don't know what happened. I just know he went past that cedar. So we gave him an hour and a half, maybe.
Yeah, because I mean, I drove. My boss is like, hey, go, just go. You're not gonna be. You're gonna be worthless. Just go get her with the deer.
Yeah. I
flew.
shot it at 6:13, and then we went back out around 8. So it was about 2 hours.
Yeah, about 8:30ish. Yeah.
And it was dark. We had spotlights and everything. It was a freshly plowed bean field, so there's no blood that you could really find. And then there's CRP grass right next door, which is the neighbor's property.
So
we
how
had
did you
text
track
them.
him then with no blood?
Oh, we didn't. We waited and called Little Bailey's Dog Retrieval, or I think that's their official name.
Yeah, it's Little Bailey's.
The dog trackers.
Yeah.
I think Dustin sent me their contact info.
Yeah.
Super cool. So we waited about 14 hours. So Little Bailey's came at 9 a.m. the next morning, and we went, and Little Bailey found him in 4 minutes and like 30 seconds.
Wow.
I mean, this dog went on a beeline. Like, it was insane and awesome to watch, because you see this dog pick up the scent, and then he's going off with it.
So
Yeah.
promo for those guys then.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, so super cool experience with that, because I was like, I just remember it being over here. So we had like put toilet paper where my arrow had hit in the ground, and I mean the arrow looked good. It had bubbles on it, like it had gone through lungs.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. I had gone 150 yards. He had found him. He had walked up. He's like, holy shit, this is a big deer.
I'm like, did you find it? Is it running away? Like,
That's a monster.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a really big deer.
Yeah, so the coyotes had unfortunately eaten all of the meat off of the one side. So we had flipped it over for pictures, and
So did
basically
you
just
get
took
any
the
usable
side.
meat then?
No.
No.
Which, I mean, I love venison, so I was really mad about it. I didn't even, like, I thoroughly enjoy this rack, but at the same time, I'm like, I want the meat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Exactly.
That's why we kill, is for the meat.
Yeah, it's super impressive, and what an unbelievable story to get to experience that.
Yeah.
Especially for local, because you don't see big deer like this in
Yeah.
Minnesota. Most of the time, it's like Kansas, Missouri,
right.
Oklahoma, or high fence.
Yeah, and I had a guy reach out to me and send me pictures that he had of him in velvet, and that was really cool. he'd been watching this deer for about 2 years, and he had really blown up from 2020 to 2021. So that was really nice of him to share that with me.
Yeah, I'd say a good 30 inches of antler.
And mass and even just like points. Like
He didn't have the split last year.
he didn't have either splits on the brow tines.
Yep.
This was bigger last year, so I don't know if like some how deer get
Right,
injured on one side and then their opposite side can be funky. So he might have got hit last year on his left side, and that's why his right side's a little bit more junky this year.
Yep, good diet and all that stuff will help that for sure.
So.
All right, folks. Well, we gotta wrap this one up. I gotta roll into
Sorry.
the. No, you're fine.
He officially scored 198, and the net was 170 and 2/8.
And number 2 typical, right?
Number 2 typical by a woman in Minnesota, and then number 3 in Washington County.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Congratulations to you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for taking a few minutes to sit down. And what I want to do is maybe set up time to have you guys come to the studio.
Yeah, that'd
we
be
can
cool.
pour some whiskey and do this thing right. Sound good?
Yeah, perfect.
All right, thanks a lot, you guys.
Thank you.
And you can catch their episode sometime soon here. We'll have some teaser clips on the social media, Boots and Backstraps, on all of your platforms out there. And we will be talking to Chris and Nikki again here soon. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Come on now.
The hunt is on, looking for backstraps, way deep in the woods, tracking in a swamp to a hay field under the harvest moon. When the tags are filled, it's time to switch up our boots. Head down to the honky tonk, get us a swing dance or two. We're talking about boots and backstraps.